Welcome back to Pipes and Piety, everybody. We've got a good little mini-cast for you here. James and Micah both had a really good idea of putting out some resources for you guys, just some ideas. Anybody that is wanting to learn more about God and who He is, these are good resources outside of the Bible, because that's the best resource. They've got some good resources written down that you guys can go to. You can read there's books, websites, podcasts, videos, basically anything and everything to help you kind of grasp what the Bible is saying. So I'm actually going to go ahead and hand it over to James, and he's got a few. He's going to go ahead and
wow.
Yeah, I know.
He didn't let me. Hey, you kicked my mic, jerk. He wouldn't let me host, and now he won't let me start. So maybe I need some humility.
Maybe.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why
Be content.
This one. Anyways, James, it's on you.
All right. So these are some books that I read a couple of years ago that I believe they're very good, like starting books. They're very good middle books. They're just good books. The first one is To Live as Christ by Matt Chandler. If you're asking yourself, well, basically what it is it's like a expository sermon of Philippians in book form. It's like a commentary, but written more in a sermon style. I don't know. Matt Chandler does a good job explaining Philippians, walking through Philippians, and
basically expounding on what Paul.
Exactly. Yeah. It's great knowledge, great insight. And then one I will always go back to, Desiring God by John Piper. Just everybody should read that book, I think. Also the Bible first, then Desiring God by John Piper. And then for the people who have questions, Now That's a Good Question by R.C. Sproul. It was one of the first books I ever got from him, and just his knowledge and how he can take simple questions and expound on them and get you good answers for just about any question you could have, theologically, church-wise, salvation. Yeah, so that's a really good book. I would suggest that. So that's To Live as Christ by Matt Chandler, Desiring God by John Piper, and Now That's a Good Question by R.C. Sproul. Now, obviously, I have 1,000 more books that I could quote off here, but I think those three are good starting points. Micah, what do you have?
I have a lot, so we can
we
can switch back and forth, and you can give more if you said you have more.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Do you have more written down?
I don't, but I can think if I think.
You think while I talk.
Okay.
How many do you have, Tristan?
I've just got a couple.
You want to go ahead and do yours then?
Yeah, sure. One of them actually, you mentioned. Now That's a Good Question. Another one that's just about asking questions is the book Asking the Right Questions. It's the one that James and I are both actually going through right now with a group of people here in the church, and it's really just about learning how to study the Bible and ask the right questions while you're studying the Bible to help you pull out the meaning in all the words. And that's one of them. Another one, 20 Basics Every Christian Should Know. That is basically, if you've ever heard of Wayne Grudem's Systematic Theology, it is a huge theology book. Just
it's about like 3 inches thick.
It's a big book, but basically it's that compacted and simplified so that any new believer can come and pick it up and read it and understand who God is, what it means to be a Christian. So that's like a really good book. And then one that I just went through, which Mike has got one that kind of is a little bit bigger than this, but it goes deeper than this, and he'll talk about that in a sec. But License to Kill, for anyone who's struggling in sin, which is everyone.
Well, speak for yourself.
Okay,
I'm kidding.
Micah. For anyone who's struggling in sin, this book is a book that helps you to target that sin and kill it. as best as it can. It basically just helps you to see why it's important to be combating sin, to fight sin, and helps you see the tools that you've been given to do it. The Bible. Hint, hint. It always goes back to that, believe it or not. But yeah, so it's a really good book for new believers, especially who are just learning how to fight sin and what it means to strive to not sin, basically. Anyways, those are the only ones that I have currently. There are a few others, but those are the three that really stick out in my mind right now. So
yeah, we're also going to do some other resources that aren't books if you're not a big reader. I never read really until I got to seminary, and then it's like you either read or you're going to fail. So I'm going to read, I guess. So I don't know, I have a few. One of my favorites, it's not the easiest to read just because it's pretty theological, I guess, but they're in really short segments, so it is also kind of easy to read. It's John Calvin's Institutes of Christian Religion. That's the title of it, right, James? Institutes
Of the Christian faith?
of the Christian, yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
It's basically John Calvin's systematic theology, and
That's a big book.
it is a big book, but it's in short segments, and as our pastor Seth says, it's like toilet reading. And after he said that, I started putting that into practice.
Yeah.
And literally, you can read a section while you're on the toilet.
It's not good for your bowels, but
So the what does make it difficult is it's like 1500s writing. Right, that was 1500s, yeah.
yeah, it's Reformation era.
So, and John Calvin is, even though he didn't start the Reformation, or he definitely wasn't even one of the main, he was a main guy, but he didn't start it.
He's one of the fathers.
Yeah, but for whatever reason, his name alone usually goes with the Reformation. But anyway, it's going to be Reformed theology. So cautions, I guess, that I would give with it is it's going to be, like we say, we're Reformed, but we're technically, like, we don't practice infant baptism. Some of our leadership is different than what some Reformed, like Presbyterians, or... So if you're not of that opinion, I would caution that. But it's a really good book. Am I going down this whole list, or are we going to swap in on and off?
James, you go for a couple.
Okay, well, I don't have books, but you guys have mentioned something about, if you're not a reader. So a lot of people during the new year make a resolution, especially only in church, really. I'm going to read my Bible. Sometimes just jumping in, though, from like cold turkey to jumping into reading the Bible can be kind of hard. Don't know where to start. Don't know how to. A good resource that I've been practicing, because this year I drive my son to the babysitter now, and so it's called Streetlights. It's Humble Beast puts it out. You can go to humblebeast.com, and then you just look at freely given, and then Streetlights. And what it is it's an audio Bible with, they call it a hip hop beat, but it's really just a kind of a fast paced beat. It's well read. It's not like those audio Bibles with, dramatization. They use different voices, but it's really good. They've got like 1st, 2nd, 3rd John, Philemon. They've got a bunch, and they're constantly putting more out. But my car, I've got them all on a USB drive, and I plug it into my car. My car has a USB port, and they just play. And my son and I, we've been listening to them. It's a great way to, read the Bible. Listening to the Bible there's a difference between reading the Bible and listening to the Bible, but I think listening to the Bible is just as important as reading the Bible.
Yeah.
So if that's when your goal of, I want to read the Bible, I want to read more of the Bible, read the Bible, but I would say also put this on. It's, like I said, it's called Streetlights. You can go to humblebeast.com and find it. Other websites that I Ligoniers.com is a great one, especially if you are.
Mike is over there marking
Marking
stuff off his
stuff.
I
list.
had that on my list.
Mike and I have very similar minds, especially if you are looking into Reformed theology and making it your kind of finalizing your thoughts about Reformed theology. I don't think anybody will ever actually finalize their thoughts. We'll always be working through. But Sproul did a great job. They actually just rolled out a new resource called Ask Ligoniers. And basically 24 hours a day, 6 days a week, you can chat with a expert and ask any question that you have, and they'll real time respond to you with biblical, honest, good answers. I tried it the other day and asked a silly question just to see what it was just. I asked can God make a stone so big?
What'd they say?
And they said kind of the same answer that I gave, and it's just like, it doesn't matter, you know. It doesn't matter that the silly questions don't. I can't remember. I have to.
Right.
But yeah, it was good. That's I remember going, man, that's a good way of kind of shutting that kind of thinking down. So, Micah, you got any like podcasts or anything or websites?
Yeah, let me get through my books first.
How many books do you have?
6.
Oh my gosh, you're going. Okay, fine.
I've got two. I've got 2
I'm just
here.
kidding, it's fine.
Let's see, 2 here that. Stop talking, Tristan. I don't even know what I'm talking about now. I have 2 books here that are on missions. Man, I read these 2 books and did like a fairly serious study on missions this past year, and it changed my life. I'm not even.
It spawned our first.
That
podcast.
is why we had
Our first
one of the
podcast,
reasons
yeah.
we had the discussion that we had on our first podcast. But those are the first one is called Missiology by John Mark Terry. John Mark Terry went to I believe it's Southern Seminary. Don't quote me on that. I'm not completely sure.
In Fort Worth, Texas.
Yeah, this is the most detailed book on missions I've ever read. It's like a textbook, but because it's like a textbook, you don't necessarily have to read it all the way through. You can go to the table of contents and do it that way, or you can read it all the way through if you're a nerd like me. And then the other one is by John Piper. It's called Let the Nations Be Glad. He establishes his theology of missions, and his famous quote is that missions exist because worship doesn't. That's literally how the book opens, and he just goes from there. Those are 2 really great ones. Another one, not having to do with missions, Tristan was talking about License to Kill, which is a really great book, and it's kind of based on the idea of a book called Of Mortification of Sin by John Owen. It's a Puritan guy. He gets at the root of sin, just like the book Tristan was talking about. Yeah. It's a great read. It's kind of hard to read because it's this Puritan guy, and Puritans are wordy.
A long time ago, with
But there's this elegance to it too. That's like, I wish I could talk like that. A practical book that's really easy to read. If you really wanted to, you could probably just sit down and read it in like an afternoon or something. It's called Experiencing the Trinity by Joe Thorne. It's amazing. Oh, yeah. It just walks through attributes of God pretty much. It's amazing. Talking about getting to know who God is. It's an amazing book. Good reminder. Let's see. I think I have 2 more. Woohoo. This is also a textbook, and this also shows my nerdy side. It's called The New Moody Atlas of the Bible. That sounds so boring. Okay.
Moody Atlas. Yes.
The New Moody Atlas of the Bible. I know that sounds like the driest book in the world, but it's so good to read with the Bible because it talks about the history and geography of different settings of the Bible. If you like archaeology and stuff like that, it's really good. If you're a normal person and you don't, then probably shouldn't read it. Last one. This is the book that you need to read if you want to go completely insane, as I'm finding out this semester. It's called The Love of Wisdom. It's a Christian introduction to philosophy, and it will ask some crazy questions like, can we know? How can we know that we can know? What is truth? Sorry if you're picking up some background noise. The coffee pot's going to explode.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I don't think I've ever heard that sound come
that's
from
weird.
it before.
Oh, I have a fiction one if you want to have some fun. It's The Odyssey. I just reread that.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty excellent.
I love
The
the
Odyssey.
Odyssey. Yeah.
There you go.
I have some websites and then some YouTube stuff, but I'll let you go. Whoever wants to go next.
I thought of one more that I want to throw out there, and Mike, I'm probably going to sound like a broken record to you because I continuously talk about this, but just because I can't stop listening to it, and it's for those people that really enjoy worship music. Psalms Volume 2 by Shane. Micah knows I cannot stop talking about it.
Probably like once a week I hear him talking.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
Your dad played it in Africa.
Oh my gosh, some of the most powerful lyrics. It's because it's straight scripture.
Yeah, Psalm 46.
That one is good, and it used to be my favorite, but I think I've moved to Psalm 139.
Oh yeah.
That one's really good.
I was listening on the way here.
Fairest of all, I don't for some reason remember which psalm it is, but that one is really good. Every single song on the album is literally a psalm.
No.
Rewritten a little bit so that it could match our modern
But yeah, the idea of the chapter is in the song.
A lot of it is word for word.
Yeah.
And is really good. And also Shane puts a lot of other stuff out there that's also really good. They've got a whole worship initiative.
The worship initiative volume.
Amazing.
It's like turning into WoW Christian music, because it is, it's their version of everybody else's songs.
Yeah, and it's really good. I highly recommend just about anything Shane. If you're just looking for worship music. But Psalms Volume 2.
Yeah.
While we're talking about music, I'll give another one just because this is probably the one I always talk about. That's one he always talks about. The one I'm always talking about is Beautiful Eulogy.
Yeah.
Tristan doesn't like rap, so he can't appreciate this song. And
But
let me tell
I
you,
do.
okay, I'm probably the whitest guy you'll ever meet, and I never have been into rap, but I was literally studying one day and had this in the background, and the song Sovereign was playing. And usually, like, if it's a rap, it's usually distracting to me because it's like words and you have to think about it. Sometimes you can't even know what they're saying, but man, this stood out to me. The song or rap, whatever you want to call it, Sovereign by Beautiful Eulogy. I just want to read like part of the first verse. It says, from the skies to the seas and everything that lies in between, everything that exists in the universe is dispersed by his decree. He is infinitely supreme and orchestrates all things, the one who sits in the heavens and laughs and does whatever he pleases. Who is God sovereign? That's the thing that's kind of repeated throughout.
Yeah.
It'll blow your mind.
That whole album, Worthy.
Yeah, that album's called Worthy.
Yeah, that's a good one. Since we are a podcast, I thought we should shout out some other podcasts. We've had a theme a little bit. If you have questions that need to be asked, Ask John Piper is a great one. They do an episode 3 times a week. So if you can probably find your questions somewhere in the archives of their show. If you're looking for laughs, I always find that the Gut Check podcast is a great podcast. It's 2 pastors who are funny. It's it's not necessarily like a theological. Well, it's not at all like a theological. But sometimes it's just listening to 2 guys kind of fellowship and have fun is nice too sometimes. And yeah, I thought of a really short book. If you're like, I can't read a book over 100 pages. A really small book is Just Do Something by Kevin DeYoung. If you wrestle with finding God's will, knowing God's will. If you're one of those people that's like, I just want to know God's will. I would want to know it. I want to know it. And then you find yourself a year down the road and you haven't done anything really for God because you're waiting for that divine internal leaf falling just right and it lands somewhere. This book will change your mind of how you think about God's will and what that means in making decisions. And it's really small too. I give it to I try and find a bunch of copies and buy them. I give them to kids graduating. When I was in youth ministry, I'd give them to kids graduating high school because I wish I had that book when I was graduating high school because So Just Do Something by Kevin DeYoung. That'll be my last because it's so short that if you don't read it, you're doing yourself an injustice.
Yeah. I've got one more before you close it.
Go for it.
I know we're reaching our mark for the
We're good.
MiniCast.
It's about to turn into a normal podcast,
Yeah.
not a mini.
Oh, we got to go another 30 minutes.
We don't want to go there.
So, like I kind of said, I didn't used to read a lot, and it's kind of bittersweet now because I learn by reading, but I also don't like it, but I still do it. But I used to learn a lot by videos and like YouTube channels. You already mentioned like Desiring God and stuff. Anything that you want to learn about the Reformed faith, you can just Google Sproul and Piper. But one that I recently found, like within this past year, is called Apologia Studios. Have you heard of?
No.
I can't think of the guy's name.
I can't either, but I've
it's
seen his stuff.
It's a defense of the faith. It's apologetics, and it's the guy's smart too, and he's probably in his 30s or so, and he's a pastor, and he just goes out on the streets and evangelizes, and he gives a defense of the faith. It's really good. That's all I got.
But remember, your number one resource in the Christian faith should always be
John Calvin.
Pipes
Pipes and Pie.
Yes.
Podcast.
No. Your number one resource should always be the Bible.
Yeah. The way, as I think Spurgeon said it, visit a lot of good books, live in the Bible.
Yeah. We wanted to do this, guys, so that you could have an idea of some good resources to go to get an outside opinion. We should never be reading the Bible and just taking our own interpretation of it. We should always be getting an outside opinion because there's always someone smarter than us.
And I would say don't even, like, I used to be afraid to do this, but don't be afraid to read an opinion that's like the complete opposite of yours.
Yeah.
Because it strengthens your own argument. It can be scary, but I mean, God's faithful to hold us fast.
Don't be scared of an old Christian book too. That was my big. When I was first starting, when I first started like reading Christian literature and kind of the Christian life. That's the section it's always usually in at Barnes and Noble and stuff. The Christian life book. There was like a specific kind of cover that you just kind of would go to. I found myself that some of the best books are the ones that and it sounds weird to say, but I'm not attracted to. Yeah. And some of the worst books that I ever read were the ones that I were like, this has got to be a cool book. It looks cool. So, yeah.
Don't judge a book by its cover.
You can't judge a book by its cover, but I did for a long time.
But anyways, we're reaching the end of our time here before it turns into a real podcast, not a mini podcast. So, like always, send us messages, email, Facebook message, whatever means you decide. We'll get it. We will reply as promptly as we can. And give us ideas, things to talk about on our podcast. We don't want this to be just us. We want you guys to have your input. We want you to be heard. So until next time, I'm Tristan.
I'm James.